it stands out to me that motorsport is one of those industries where there is going to be that tangible result. The car has to go on a racetrack. You're going to measure whether it's going quickly, whether it's reliable, whether the driver's feeling confident in it, and at the end of the day, those successes are going to be properly measurable. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There will probably be, people in other industries that might find it harder to perceive that performance, or that they feel that they can't measure their own performance or their role in the job so easily. Do you think that that's a unique aspect of motorsport, that ability to see results every weekend, that draws people to motorsport as an industry, you think?
Yeah, because it all happens so fast, doesn't it? Because, if your car isn't ready, they're not going to delay the race for you. You're either in it or you're not. And I think that kind of time pressure, and obviously there's quite a lot of financial pressure behind it when you're working with the big teams, that it's got to be done. And then you see the performance almost immediately. I was talking to a guy somewhere at an airport, I think it was, and he was an engineer for Airbus, designing components for the aircraft. And he said, "Oh, I envy you guys." He said, "I design components for this Airbus, and I won't see it on the plane for 10 years. You guys, you'll sit on it next weekend." I said, "Well, yeah, that's absolutely right. When you see all the 3D printers they've got now, and even composite 3D printers, maybe I shouldn't say that, but there are in some of the teams. The results are so immediate, and you know whether you've made a good move or a bad move when you change a detail on the car. It's so immediate, and so I think it does attract people that like that sort of pace. It's a fast-paced environment, without a doubt, and you've got to like that sort of environment, and you've got to relish the pressure that you're under, because that's what gives you the results. And if you're not that way inclined, then certainly don't work in the pit lane. And maybe motorsport isn't for you, because it is time pressure, it's everything pressured. But the end result is amazing.
Do you think at times that pressure can go too far? It feels to me like a manager could almost weaponize that pressure, and there's a point at which it could become too much and really take a toll on the mental health and the spirit of the team. In that it's a very fine balance with managing that environment of pressure, but also unique to motorsport at the same time, where the rewards of that work come so quickly.
Absolutely, and if somebody's weaponising that, then they shouldn't be in that job. I think they won't be there for long, because I think that's not how you run a race team. You've got to be part of the team, and you've got to accept the pressure and get on with it, and then have a big blowout at night, and laugh so hard that you've got a beer coming out your nose, that kind of thing. But that's after the event, and I think during the event, I can always tell a difference in it when I'm in the pit lane. When the car goes live, the atmosphere changes. It's absolutely, everyone's on their A game now, because everything's about to go live, and it all gets very serious. And some teams are better to work for than others. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Some of them are how can I put it without sounding too? But some of them are very strict and not a lot of fun environments, should we say? Whereas others are a little bit more laid back. All of the same pressures, the same financial pressures, but it's more of a fun place to be. And they're the ones that tend to attract, for me, the best talent, and the guys who want that sort of environment that is actually enjoyable, because, we're only here once, aren't we? You might as well enjoy your job. And some guys enjoy it so much. I mean, I bumped into a guy about 3 years ago now, and at one of the races. I haven't seen him for about 20 odd years. Been in Formula One for 30 years, he told me. I said, "You've been working trackside in F1 for 30 years?" He said, "Yeah, man and boy."
Amazing, yeah. Wow.
I said, "I bloody love it. I can't get enough of it." And he's getting on a bit now. He's like my age, I said, "Are you still doing it?" He said, "Yeah, still doing it." I said, "Hang on, he's still married?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm still married. It's my third wife, but I'm still married." That kind of sums up motorsport for me.
Fair enough. I think in terms of headhunting, when you get a task of trying to find someone for that specialized role, are you trying to match their sort of psychology and the way they work with the culture of a team? Or is it purely just kind of, that person should be able to adapt to whatever team they're going to? Does that come into mind at all? Or is it really just about finding the best practical performer?
It does come to mind. You've got to bear in mind what sort of character they are and where they're going. So there's an element of that, but quite often it's so hard to find anybody that's got the skill set that's been asked for that you'd almost take anybody that's got the skill set and let them work out whether they're going to be a fit personality-wise in the team. A lot of these guys have worked for quite a few different teams, and they understand that they've got to fit in, or they're not going to last very long. So I think that the personality side is less of a stress these days, because they've been around, and the sort of levels of experience that I'm usually looking for aren't a year or two. They're 5 to 10 years doing a very specific role. So there's a good chance that it worked in various places. Sometimes it won't work, of course. There'll be a clash of personality with somebody else, and there's not a lot you can do about that. What somebody's going to have to go, probably. But it usually works out. I've had great successes, very few failures. I can't think of a failure actually through personality. If you've got, and a lot of time I don't even have to explain what the job is. If you're looking for example, a race engineer for LMP1, then the guy knows what is expected of him because he's done it before. So it's kind of doing the same as that, but with a different team on a different car. But when you say you're either a number one mechanic, you're a race engineer, you're a data engineer, once you've got 5 years plus experience, you know exactly what that role is. I don't need to ask them if they know about MATLAB software or whatever else, because obviously it goes with the trade. It's like asking a joiner if he's brought his saw with him. It's obvious that you know all these things to go with it. And it's quite often for me, the timing is the hardest thing, actually. It's finding the right guy at the right time of his career, really, or his life, as in, what's your position with the children? He might say, well, I've got kids now, so I want to be working factory based rather than trackside. This comes up all the time. Or can you move? Can you relocate? Brexit's been a nightmare in terms of relocations. That's made things a whole lot more complicated. Trump not being president anymore has made it a lot easier to get to America now, so that's good. So I've got a big team over there. Can't say who it is yet, but they're coming back to me, I think, next week. Quite a big team, looking for quite a few staff quite quickly. And they're saying, look, we need guys from Europe because they've got experience in these sort of cars that we haven't got in America. So we can get visas for them because you've got special experience that we haven't got there. And there'll be some good opportunities coming up there for people who want to move to America. I've got some coming up in Australia in the supercars. Looking for
brilliant series of supercars. Really, I mean, I love it. I love supercars. The action there and the storylines. It's such its own special culture there. Supercars. It's really cool.
It's brilliant, and they're really struggling down there for decent sort of race engineer type guys. He said there just isn't any, so we're going to have to bring them over from Europe. And I'm saying, well, actually, I'm sure there's quite a few guys in the UK that won't mind a few years in Oz to come and work on those cars. So I don't see that being a massive problem. We've had quite good success in the past with people going to Australia and America, because it's the sort of thing you might want to do for a few years. Why not? It's all good experience, isn't it? A different culture and so on.